We were out at Singularity University a couple of weeks ago, and we interviewed some students there. We're going to show that video of my interview with some of the Singularity students, and then we're going to come back and we'll talk about more issues regarding the aims and objectives of Singularity University. So let's go ahead and roll that tape.
Great.
Singularity University is located at NASA's Ames Research Park. You have to pass through a checkpoint to get in. Ames Research Park is one of the world's foremost space research facilities, and Singularity rents its space from it. Singularity is not a part of Ames, but the two have a lot of close ties and many overlapping interests, including space research, artificial intelligence, and robotics. When students finish Singularity's 10-week course, they remain part of the Singularity network and are encouraged to start their own companies. Jessica Scorpio recently completed the course. She previously served for 3 years in the office of Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, and she has a bachelor's degree with highest honors in political science. She's now co-founder of a startup company called GetAround, which offers a new concept in green transportation. Tell me about your company, GetAround, which you're co-founder of, which was incubated right here.
Well, GetAround is a new company working in green transportation. And basically what we're doing is we're enabling people who own cars to share them with people in their social network and in their neighborhoods and at their workplaces and in university campuses, which we're going to be launching in later this year. We like to call ourselves eBay meets Zipcar. And we've developed not only the technology, but also the insurance product that lets us bring this to market. So it's the first ever marketplace for person-to-person car sharing.
Let's talk about politics for a little bit, because you're a political science major and you've worked in politics in the office of the Canadian Prime Minister. Do you see work in politics as part of your future?
Probably, actually. I guess I've always been very involved in government, whether that's student government, different leadership positions. I enjoy it. I find that when people are asked to step up and be responsible for certain roles, I like to be that person, and I'm pretty good at it. I really feel like I want to be someone who has expertise and experience to bring to the table. So I'm happy to work in business and get some of that experience, and then later on, if I feel the calling to represent a district or a area of population, I'd consider it.
Now, so what do you see yourself doing, say, in the next 5 or 10 years?
Well, GetAround is a bit of a long tail play. So
you're committed to that for the long term. You hope it'll be viable and be a long-term source of...
Well, I think we'll probably be profitable in the next 3 years, get in the black, but definitely to see this make a national impact is going to be a commitment of probably the next 5 years, if not longer. So I'm committed to doing that, and definitely see where that takes me. We know there's a lot of people interested in what we're doing, so it could be brought into a bigger effort. And I'd like to see that happen.
Another recent graduate is Shawna Pangaea. Shawna has a bachelor's degree in neuroscience from the University of Alberta, a master's degree from the International Space University in Strasbourg, France, and she's studying to become a medical doctor. She's involved in a startup that deals with disaster response. Shawna, what made you decide to go to Singularity University?
Well, it's actually a little bit of a funny story. So there were two things. So one day on Facebook, of all things, I noticed a lot of my friends were becoming fans of something called Singularity University. So I thought, well, what is this institution? I should probably go check it out. And then the second thing that convinced me to come here, when I went to the webpage, I saw their mission statement of taking, accelerating, and emerging technology. So taking the best of what we've done and what we are as humans, taking our creativity, our innovation, our technology, and pairing that with the worst of our human challenges in healthcare, energy, water, climate, and creating solutions that way. I was sold. Those are my two passions, so I had to come.
Now that you've taken the course, what specific area of problems are you interested in working in?
So there's still no definitive answer, but I'm definitely working on two of my passions right now. One of them is disaster response and improving the way in which we can affect disaster response through technology, smartphones specifically. That's one of them. And then in the bigger picture, global health is something I'm extremely passionate about.
What would you say is the most important thing you got out of Singularity University?
Wow, that's a hard question. There has been so much. I think the value of the people and the networks, because the minds you meet at this institution are unbelievable. They're at the top of their game. They're extremely innovative, driven minds, but there's no ego. It's just driven by a desire to, for lack of a better phrase, change the world and drive new innovations.
Now, what does Singularity University define as the major problems of the world? There are obviously lots of problems, and some of them are sort of counter, so if you solve one, it makes another one worse.
That's true. So actually, they didn't want to constrain us too much, but they did realize they had to give us a framework. So when we came here in 2009 in the summer, they gave us a little bit of a challenge, which was called 10 to the 9 plus. And that effectively translates into how would you positively impact 1 billion people over 10 years using accelerating and emerging technologies. That now as to how we took it upon ourselves. I worked with an especially talented team of 9 students of the original 40. We represented 7 countries, and this team was extremely driven. So we took one step further back and said, how can we positively impact 6.7 billion people? And that's where we came up with the idea of affecting disaster response, because whether you're talking about a tsunami in the South Pacific or an earthquake in Haiti or San Francisco, the need to deliver aid and assistance following any natural or man-made disaster is just as relevant.
Another graduate is Zubin Wahab. Zubin is founder and CEO of Red Rock IT Solutions, partner and chief technology officer of ImageWork Technologies, and he's now developing the software for CiviGuard, an internet-based startup that helps coordinate disaster responses. Zubin, tell me how the system works.
Basically, it's an emergency communications platform optimized for smartphones and the civilian population. And there's a groundswell of investment going on post 9/11 within these emergency operations centers to invest in intelligence, in information and first responder communication across these different cities. And with that groundswell of investment, communication with different first responders has been optimized over time. However, there isn't really an optimal way of reaching out to the civilian population itself. And that's really what we're trying to focus on.
So can we see an example of how the system works?
Sure. So there's 2 components to the platform. One is CiviCommand, which is the multi-touch decision execution platform, and then there's CiviCast, which is really our broadcast platform optimized for a smartphone. We're releasing the Android and iPhone versions first, and the BlackBerry and Windows Phone 7 versions are following next quarter. Once these platforms are out there, it allows a command center using CiviCommand to go ahead and log in, and during a crisis be able to essentially model a scenario that reflects the situation on the ground.
And you can configure it to put out just about any kind of information you want.
Absolutely. So you can go ahead and identify a particular zone, so it's all multi-touch based, and you can go ahead and set up sectors. You can go ahead and modify particular areas that you want to be able to manipulate in terms of size and area. You also have the ability to zoom. And the other thing is this depends on mapping providers. So it uses Google Maps and Bing Maps. So the reason it uses both, again, is resiliency. Should one service go down, then the other service takes over, etc. And then you can go ahead, click next. You can replicate the crisis zone and notification zone. Otherwise, the notification zone can be much larger, whatever works. And once you go to the next section, you can also add custom exit points. So you can go ahead and add an exit point down there, another exit point up here next to the bridge, and then...
That means the bridge is open, you can get over it.
Exactly, and then what you can also do is also identify which exits are closed. So the system has a very prioritization-based system. So that particular exit, if it's closed, you can simply go ahead and use our slider utility, set it to 0. And what the system actively knows is that now do not send instructions to people that say go down this particular exit.